Let's talk about your net worth, because your net worth is not random and neither is your self-worth. Think about it. You can sit down right now and write down everything that it is that you own and subtract what it is that you owe. Now, if you look at your piece of paper, what exact number did you get? Because that reflection on that piece of paper is your net worth. Now, you know how to calculate that. But here's what you may not realize, that you can actually trace that exact same number through something invisible, and that's called your self-worth. Whatever number is sitting on that paper, it's not luck, it's called manifestation. And a manifestation of beliefs that you don't even realize that you're carrying around. And if you're thinking, money doesn't matter, money isn't everything, I hear you, you're definitely right about that. Money doesn't matter until it does. Because the belief system that you're carrying, it sounds very noble up until the point that it materializes into a depleted bank account, a body that is falling apart, or a life that keeps shrinking to fit the size of the belief systems that you refuse to examine. Here's the truth. What you believe about yourself and your value will always show up in your life. When your internal self-value does not match up what it is that you say that you want, you actually end up staying in jobs that drain you, situations that shrink you, and your bank account reflects none of your potential. So looking at that number on that piece of paper forces you to face one question. The question you've been avoiding. What does my value system say about me? First, I need to define for you what self-worth is. Self-worth is a belief system. It is something actually that you cannot see. It is invisible, but just because you can't see it, guess what? It doesn't mean that you aren't carrying it around like you would a purse. Everyone has one, whether you realize it or not. Think about a purse. The size of the purse actually does matter because it determines what you carry and what the things you're carrying allow you or don't allow you to do. Let me give you an example. A small belief system carries thoughts like, I'm hoping someone will give me a chance. I'm hoping that maybe. And actually with those belief systems, those thoughts won't carry you very far. You won't have a whole lot of room for a whole lot of things in your life. How much does a belief system like that, with that size, give you to show up for what it is that you're actually capable for? A small purse can't hold much proof of what it is that you can do because it never gives you the space to demonstrate it. And you know what? Yes, it is definitely very pretty, but it doesn't carry a whole lot. Now, but of a large purse, that is an expansive belief system. Let me show you. A woman with a large purse walks and thinks and does the talk because she's thinking, I bring something unique. My goodness, I am the source of my own value and I can ask for more and I even have room for all the things that I'm asking for. You know, a purse like this in life, which is the belief system, can hold real evidence, capability, and a deep sense of worth. And really the size of the purse that you carry doesn't determine the entire scale of that at which you operate at a subconscious level. It's never about really what's inside the purse. It's all about the size of the container, the purse itself. So who determines the size of your purse? Who determines whether you are worth something or not? You're the one that accepts the salary, remember that. You're the person who says yes to the job, and actually you're the person that says I do to a relationship. So if you're asking for more, remember, it's never the other person. It will always be you. Remember, your self-worth isn't set by someone else. It's reflected in what it is that you believe about you and what you should accept or you shouldn't. It's not entitlement. It's just moving through life with a different energy and a different ask. So let me actually show you how this works with numbers. Take a look at this t-shirt. One person can say, oh, you know what? The most I'd ever pay for this top is $5.99, which is okay. But the reason that number showed up, it's because it's actually a reflection of the container or the belief system, like the small purse that they carry. So they may look at this top and say, you know what, it's really just a one-time use. And that's why they, in their mind, slap a low price on it, because it's all their container can hold. And just to, as a little side note about this top, there's many brilliant thinkers that say, I can find that on another website for $5.99. And guess what? You actually can. But for you $5.99 people, I want to tell you something about that. That is called, that type of thinking is called short-term thinking and short-time investment, because the one who made money is actually the company. Because if you liked it so much for one-time use, guess how many times you will buy the same item because you liked it the first time and it didn't hardly cost you anything on the front end, but that number comes back on the back end. And I'll show you with the next investment here tier of someone who's willing to spend $100 for this fabulous piece. Someone with self-worth actually sees opportunity everywhere. And when you operate from an unconscious belief system, small beliefs actually end up in a very small paycheck. It's reflected in your paycheck. It's reflected in your life. It's not punishment. It's actually a natural consequence of how you've been showing up and asking what you're willing to accept as well. Your inherent value, and this is so important, never changes. It is your belief about your self-worth that changes. Now, this is my favorite part. We're actually going to talk about the blueprint, and it's called your self-worth blueprint. So once you understand that self-worth is actually the belief system that, like a purse that you're choosing to carry, you now have to look at what that belief system actually connects. It connects your internal identity actually to your physical reality. There is a blueprint running your life, whether you see it or not. I call it the self-worth blueprint. It goes something like this. Your self-worth sets your boundaries. Your boundaries dictate your choices. Your choices actually produce your outcome, your net worth. This blueprint is always running in the background, whether you realize it or not. Because your belief system does not stay trapped inside your head. If you're operating unconsciously and you have never examined the size of your purse that you're carrying, your self-worth is on autopilot. And on autopilot, it's actually dictating everything that you do. Basically, every single experience of your life. It sets the terms for what you tolerate, for what you choose, for what you accept, and actually what you get back. It all starts with boundaries. Think of boundaries like a very high beam fence around your life. It is your belief, whether you realize it or not, especially if it's unexamined. It's like you built a massive, impressive looking wall and you actually left the front gate open. A high voltage electric fence with electricity completely shut off doesn't help you in any way, because the voltage is down. Anyone can come right in. They can come and do whatever it is they want in your field. They can trash it, they can trample it. And that's really a reflection of your time and an energy that you're not realizing that you're giving away. And they can actually do whatever it is the hell they want with it. But here is what's harder to admit. Sometimes the person trampling the lawn is you. When you don't keep your word to yourself, when your yes doesn't mean yes and your no gets turned around into a yes for everyone else, that's you violating your own boundaries. And actually, sometimes you don't even know that you're doing it. That's you taking your gold and wrapping it around in copper and trying to pass really yourself off as less than you really are. You just don't know it. Living out a small belief system and then blaming the world for what it is that you can't hold is really a matter of self-deception. Now watch what happens when your internal identity shifts. When your belief about what you're worth starts to change, You can tell immediately because a woman starts being very selective. Her yes means yes. Her no's start to look a very different way. She starts reserving herself. She is her own reserve wine, reserved for very special occasions. She seeks out better opportunities, chooses better experiences, and at a time that is convenient for her, not for other people. If you're not very selective, just waiting around for someone to take you up to do things with you, that's not being reserved. But when your boundaries are very clear, you start thinking like, no, I'm actually pretty special. I don't really need to wait for anyone, and I can do that if I want to. Your boundaries are invisible until a choice actually forces them into your physical reality. The moment you start thinking that you are something, whatever it is that you don't want and tries to enter, your boundaries will actually come up, step up, and stop it for you. Now, this brings me to the difference between just earning money and building true wealth. Earning money is like building a staircase with no structural support underneath it. You can see that the structure is there, and it's very high, but there's actually no support underneath it. So the second you actually put any real weight on it, everything drops right underneath your feet. Those are the load-bearing walls in your financial house. Very important. Those are the load-bearing walls of your belief system. True wealth is when you fill all those areas of your life, creating a support that allows you to live a very full life, no matter what the numbers say today. Now, I know this is true, not because I actually read it, it's because I lived it. I grew up in a family where the mentality was more about working hard. There's nothing completely wrong with working hard. However, what I did not learn is once you've worked hard, actually to rest. Because when you just work and work, it actually ends up in a very poor or very small purse. And that was the size of my purse. That was the size of my belief system I had inherited, and I carried it straight into adulthood, and I didn't even know it or question it. I said yes to a house that I couldn't afford because I took bad advice from someone else. I borrowed from Peter to pay Paul. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and actually it set me back. I filed for bankruptcy, not once, but twice. And I wasn't financially bankrupt. As above, as below, so is in, so is out. I was bankrupt energetically, and I had nothing to give. I just didn't know it. But the nice thing, I actually kept working. I created a business. I was learning that I was growing, and my belief system actually began to expand to match what it is that I was learning. I was starting to learn how to build my staircase with a support wall. It worked until it didn't. I began actually to invest in other parts of my business. And while that was very functional, yes, it was very efficient, it was very successful, it was until it wasn't. And I'll show you why. What happened is that my body collapsed. Around 2016, the stress of running on a high functioning business on top of a life where I'd neglected every other area of my life actually caught up to me. The business was succeeding, but I was not. I forgot that I needed a support and to support my staircase or to support what it is that I was building. The money was coming in, but I couldn't sustain it because I hadn't built the foundation. Your body keeps the score, and guess what? Mine did, and it was screaming. I had to stop for a minute. I had to recover. And during that recovery, something shifted. I already had started learning. I had educated myself. I had made different choices. I had started giving myself permission to want more. But my purse still wasn't big enough to hold what was actually possible. So I made a decision that terrified me. I paid $5,000 to sit in a room for a coach for a day, for one day. This was a level of investment I had never done before. And I could do it because of the choices I already had made, the business I'd built, the foundation I had started. I created this opportunity I was pushing myself to expand, but the decision still scared me very much, by the way. Every part of my own belief system was screaming, you can't afford this. What are you doing? But something in me knew if I didn't expand my purse, I would never see what was already in front of me. In that room, I wrote down a goal that seemed impossible to me at the time. I wrote $1 million from the sale of my business. I had the building, I had the business. I'd been building it for years, but I couldn't see the $1 million sitting in front of me until my purse expanded enough, not only for me to hold it, but for me to see it. Once I could see it, I started acting like a woman who was about to sell her company for $1 million. And not even a year later, I did. The gold had always been there. I just hadn't believed it yet. That is the proof that your self-worth equals your net worth. So now we come back to where we started. That number on your paper, do you see it? It isn't luck. It isn't the economy of your boss. It's not anyone else. It is the direct manifestation of the belief system you have been carrying like a purse, and it's showing up in dollars and cents. It is the self-worth blueprint running whether you consciously realize it or not. And if you don't like what you see, that's actually the best news. You can actually create consciously what you were unconsciously creating before, and you can expand your purse. So ask yourself, why wouldn't I do it for me? Why wouldn't I make good decisions on my behalf? Why wouldn't I invest in myself like I'm the most valuable asset I've ever owned? Because you are. You are the asset, you are the gold, you are the key. Gold doesn't stop being gold just because it's sitting in dirt. You can, shine it up. Gold doesn't apologize for its value, and neither should you. Now you know the blueprint, you know your self-worth designed your current net worth. But knowing isn't the same thing as doing. In the next video, I'm going to show you how this plays out in your real life with real people, real choices, and what happens when you actually start building your wealth from a foundation to support it across every area of your life. Because money isn't everything, a full wealthy life is. And that's always available to you right now, regardless of what your bank statement says. Look at that number on that paper one more time, and you tell me, what is it that you're worth? You decide. Coaching from the heart, Diana.